Hi everyone, it's David here. I am the intermediate cello tutor and I'm speaking to you here from the virtual Benedetti sessions in my flat in Glasgow, Scotland. So let me start by welcoming you to my flat virtually. You're going to see quite a lot of this flat and quite a lot of me over the next 3 weeks. As part of this first tutorial video, I want to tell you if you've not already done the warm-up or have looked at the warm-up video, don't panic, but I would recommend you go and check it out. So the link is down below this video, so please go and do that. In these tutorial videos, we're going to cover lots of the technical aspects of what you need to know for the pieces that we're playing, that being the Warlock, the Talus and the Paganini. Now, I'm very pleased that my good friend Sarah Ayub, part of the Ayub sisters, is going to be doing a video for us on Paganini because she actually wrote the parts, and so that's extremely exciting and makes way more sense for her to tell you all the things that she wrote for us as cellists to play in that. But I might pick up on some of that and we might talk a little bit about that. We certainly will in our live Zoom sectionals. So I wanted to start this tutorial just by talking in very general terms about how I would like you to approach these 3 weeks and how I think you should approach these pieces. And first of all, number one, fun. Fun is number one. David Munn, number one, fun. Okay, so we really want you guys to be getting the most out of this experience as you possibly can. So please just try and relax into it. We really want you to engage with these pieces in a way that's so much deeper than just playing the right notes at the right time. And if it's any consolation, I'm also a little bit nervous because this is new for all of us. My top tip for practice, number 2, is that slow and steady wins the race. It is much better to be practicing in a calm and collected way than it is to be panic practicing. When it comes to practicing slow, the metronome is your friend. Repeat after me. No, you don't have to. The metronome really is your friend though, because you can start slow and it means that you're going to have a sense of the pulse. I've got a couple of suggested practice speeds for you. So for the Warlock, when you're practicing that, I would recommend you start at 80 beats per minute. So get yourself a metronome or a metronome app if you don't have an actual metronome. Set it to 80 and that is a nice speed to begin. Then notch it up by about 2 or 4 when you feel really comfortable in that speed, that you can do everything with real calmness and a calm approach. If ever you feel a little bit agitated while you're playing, take the speed back and wait until you're comfortable at that tempo. Notch it up by, I would say, a maximum of 10 clicks every day. Don't go any more than that. Give your brain and your fingers a chance just to talk to each other. For the Talus, I would recommend almost the same speed, but in a different way. So what I mean is that we're looking for about 40 beats per minute, but that's so slow that what you might want to do is put on your metronome at 40 and use a subdivision. And subdivision is your best friend. If the metronome is your friend, subdivision is your best friend. When we're playing really slow music, it's important to break those beats that can feel really big and really long, break them up into smaller chunks. And that's what I mean by subdivision. So you can put it on at 40 and that'll feel really slow. But if you put it on with a different subdivision, that's much easier to play along to. I'll let Sarah give you all the top tips for the Paganini. And my top tip number 3 for practice is to develop a bit of a practice cake. And what I mean by that is to split your practice time into various chunks. Don't just sit there and say, right, I'm going to practice. Split the time that you have to practice into smaller chunks. So spend a bit of that time on the warm-up, spend a bit of that time maybe just doing a cool, calm, collected scale, and we'll come on to talk much more about that as time goes on. Spend a bit of time targeting the really tricky bits in both pieces. We don't want to spend loads of time on the really easy stuff because we all want to, have other lives and do other things. So we don't want to practice longer than we absolutely have to. So focus in your practice on the really challenging areas, but don't spend your whole practice time on that. Do give yourself something really rewarding to play at the end of your practice time. And however long your wheel of practice or your cake of practice is, it should always end with a chunk of rest and with a chunk of a break. It's important for your body, it's also really important for your brain. So do give yourself a break. Today's video is going to be all about sound. Of course it's going to be about sound, you're playing music, no? Well, the first thing we're going to look at is the sound and the style that we need for Warlock's Matachins. This of course is the final part of his Capriol suite, and you may already know this, but Matachins is a name given to a type of sword dance. A quick Google will tell you we also have sword dances here in Scotland. We don't all do that, by the way. I'm not really missing chasing a haggis up a hill right now or anything like that. So with the idea of it being a sword dance, I want you to really engage with the storyline of this piece. Put on the music, listen to it a few times through, and start to develop your own ideas for what might be happening. Make up characters, write a short story. Think of the piece in terms of having a beginning, middle, and an end. Even one listen to this piece will tell you that it is extremely energetic, and energetic music requires energetic musicians. We need real energy in the sound of our bows. If you've watched any of my other videos, you will know I talk about WASAP, which stands for weight and speed and point of contact. And that's what the three main aspects of using your bow effectively are. A combination of how much of the weight of your arm you're going to use and how much of that is going into the string, the speed of the bow, and the point of contact, how close or how far away you are from the bridge. For this piece, we need to be a combination of different places, but particularly, I want to just focus on the grippy sound that we need. So land your bow on the string, wobble, 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 and then you're going to whoosh the bow, feeling a real k at the start of the note. Try to get that k sound as you're practicing. That is going to be really helpful for when we come to letter B in particular, when we have these short notes, when we want them to each start with the same sound. We don't want, we want at the start of each. Then those double stops. Okay? Now we'll cover these double stops in much more detail in another tutorial, but just as a starting point, practice that. Open strings. Try and get that really gritty sound. You'll notice that my bow was about halfway. If we go too close to the bridge and we try and do the same bow speed, it comes out really thin. So that means we need to come back a little bit so that we can use the right speed of bow. It's quite a fast bow, you noticed that, right? That's why you should do it in open strings, otherwise the tuning, ooh. And you'll notice I'm almost stroking the sound out with my arm. The other main bow stroke that we need for this piece is down, up, up. And I want to tell you, first off, let's make this compact, short, otherwise it gets out of control. I don't want to see anyone coming into the upper half of the bow. We want to stay just in the lower half. So it's going to be down, up, down, up. The final speed, of course, much faster than that. If we tried that faster, you'll see that I begin to use immediately less bow. The down is slightly heavier than the up, up. It's very much down, up, down, up. So let's see if we can get that again. We'll do it 8 times. Ready, and. Why don't we try using that speed, and let's put it into an F major scale. So we're using a scale, and this time we're using it to really focus on the bow stroke. And you can try that, and you can try it even faster. The final tempo that we're looking for this Warlock to have is 170 beats per minute, which feels much more like. And you'll see Even smaller bow. Small bows, keep it compact, down, up, up. Do lots of practice on that as you are beginning to look at this piece. Just to say that we will look at the notes in much more detail in another video. Today, let's just get into the sound zone for each piece. Speaking of sound zones, if we look at the talus, it is the biggest contrast you can imagine. There's still intensity, but a completely different energy. It's still dramatic, but in a totally different way. As I listen to this piece, thinking about that storyline, thinking about engaging your imagination, I see almost like one of these drone shots, a drone flying over, doing one of these shots of a beautiful landscape, or even some of the David Attenborough documentaries that you might have seen, where you just see these lovely sweeping shots. And in many ways, that slow sweep is actually what we need in our right hand as we think about the sound for this piece. It's going to be super slow, it needs to be really controlled, and it needs to not have any bumps in it. We don't want that drone shot that suddenly goes. So we want to try and keep that static, almost floating above the string like mist floats on the water. The last thing we want to happen is for an unwanted bulge in the sound, where the sound suddenly goes whoop, like only where that's written. You will know from some of the other videos that you've watched that this piece, Vaughan Williams took the theme by Talus, a really, really old theme, and then sort of changed the harmonies a little bit and wrote this Fantasia, almost a bit like a theme in variations. So you'll hear me refer to it as the Talus, but actually we know it was not the Talus, it's Vaughan Williams, but the theme written by Thomas Tallis. You'll notice too that we are only learning the first 2 minutes of the piece, but I think it's important that we understand how it fits into the bigger structure. So please do listen to the piece the whole way through, multiple times, get it into your head, get it into your bloodstream, really soak in the music so that you can recreate the sound that you have in your ears and in your head on your instruments. If we think about that abbreviation WASAP in relation to this piece, the weight at the opening, if we take the opening as an example, the weight of the bow is going to be extremely light, very static, not really, really slow. We want to keep a sense of movement all the time, but not anything like this. And the point of contact, well, particularly at the opening, is going to be over the fingerboard, really close to the fingerboard. So we've got a light bow floating like that mist across the water. And let's have a look at that. So again, we'll go over the notes and fingerings in more detail in another video, but I'll show you just on the A string for now that the cello part would start. Did you notice my bow? Just try and get that static. It's actually really hard. It requires a lot of control. It requires, in a weird way, a lot of effort and a lot of energy to do very little. Sometimes we talk about the sound having a core, and by that we mean that you really feel your weight of the arm into the string, that the instrument is allowed to resonate. Well, I'm here to tell you that in the Talus, I've called it Talus again. I'm just gonna call it Talus. In the Talus / Vaughan Williams, we don't really want that core in the sound. We want it to be quite airy. So there we have it, a very brief introduction to both pieces and some of the challenges, particularly for the right hand, and how to get into the sound. The final thought I want to leave you with today is just that importance of immersing yourself in the music. Really get to know the music. Do a little bit of research, do a little bit of reading, really listen to it a lot, get it into your mind, get it into your being. That is going to give you the best possible chance of transferring it into your instrument. And please don't just play the notes, play the music. The music is so much more than the stuff that's written down on the page. So thanks very much for watching this video. Hopefully it's helpful, and I will see you for our Zoom sectional.